in with a game-winning block for the Lakers on Sunday night versus Atlanta, and the Lakers celebrated like they won a championship instead of beating a team that'll probably be drafting in the top 3, but that's another story. But Eric, James Jones has been reported around the league, basically did his buddy LeBron James a favor. He cut Tyson Chandler very early in the year, where a lot of people felt like they could have held on to Tyson Chandler for 2/3 of the year before they had to waive him, and he could have been there as a mentor for their young big man DeAndre Ayton. But LeBron sort of called in a favor and had them waive him now because the Lakers were in such a need. That's what's been reported from several sources and sources around the league that have said that basically James Jones did his buddy LeBron a favor. LeBron's talked about if he ever owned a team, James Jones would be the first guy he tried to hire to run the team. So do you have any issues with James Jones cutting Tyson Chandler, knowing that it was going to benefit LeBron James and the Lakers?
Oh, boy, this is a tough one. I'm sure a lot of people will think I'm just going to side with my boy LeBron James because I'm a homer. But no, I mean, if there's tampering going on, then I have a big issue with that. I don't care if it's LeBron James or anybody else. If he actually made a phone call to the Phoenix Suns front office and got connected with James Jones and said, hey, if you guys waive Tyson Chandler, that gives us an opportunity to pick him up. Yeah, I have a huge issue with that. I don't care who it is. You don't ever want to have that kind of tampering going on in a sports league because it's a recipe for disaster. However, if the Phoenix Suns as an organization and James Jones sitting in the front office says that Tyson Chandler, who has been there, by the way, since 2015, he's been on that team for several years now, if he's just not fitting into where they want to go and they waive him and then he happens to be coincidentally a benefit to another team, whether it's the Lakers or anybody else, I don't really have an issue with that because that's just professional athletics. Rumor also has it that Tyson Chandler was considering 5 teams. Then he broke it down to 2 teams, the Warriors or the Lakers. And then, being a guy from Compton, he ended up saying, okay, I want to be in LA. I want to be with the Lakers, probably finish out my career there. Those things all play a part. And does it end up being a coincidental thing that people are making a story out of? I don't really know. But to answer your question in short, if there was an actual conversation between the Lakers and or LeBron James and Phoenix prior to Tyson Chandler being waived, yeah, I have a big issue with that.
Look, this goes back to the issue that we've talked about several times where you have LeBron James, buddies from high school, and Rich Paul running Clutch, which gives him the opportunity then to reach out to basically any GM, that, and especially a GM that's got one of his clients, because that happens all the time where agents are talking to front office personnel about clients that are on their team, and this kind of stuff just happens to come up. We see players get waived all the time, and we also see players that have been good soldiers for organizations that are on the back end of their career that teams will waive to give them a better chance to go win a title. But if they cut Tyson Chandler maybe before that they were really wanted to help a team like the Lakers, if they knew that there was a need there and that he was going to go there, then yeah, that's a problem that the league needs to look into, because that creates an imbalance in the league where that should be the last thing right now that Adam Silver wants to deal with. He's already got this super team in Golden State that really sort of muddies up the regular season and the playoffs, where you're trying to find these other stories of basically conflict that's going on, or which one of these teams are overachieving at this time and putting themselves in a better position. But you never want players to have an impact on the front office and guys that are making decisions to benefit other teams because they have friends there, they have relationships there, or they're represented by this person or that person. So I think it's definitely a story to watch. It's Tyson Chandler. Yes, he's later in his career, but it's a need that the Lakers had, and it was quickly filled. If LeBron called in a favor, or if it went through Rich Paul or someone else, I don't think LeBron picked up the phone. I don't think he's that dumb to pick up the phone and be like, hey, man, can you cut Tyson Chandler? We need a big guy. But I think it went through the back channels that are all created because there's an agency there that gives a guy like Rich Paul or who's ever involved in Clutch the ability to have these conversations with the GM of any team. And it could just come up, hey, what are you thinking about Tyson Chandler? You guys going to waive him this year? You know, you never know how those things go, but it's those type of relationships that a lot of other players don't have. That Kevin Durant doesn't have an agency that he's a part of that's representing other players in the league that gives him a chance to add guys to whatever team he's on or potentially going to. So yeah, I think it's definitely a story to watch for the NBA and how they react to this going forward. So, Eric, let's take it to NASCAR. On Sunday, they will go to Homestead, Miami for their playoff finale. 4 drivers are left standing. The big 3, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., and Martinsville winner Joey Logano are the group of 4 drivers that will take to the track on Sunday. Basically, whoever finishes the best out of that 4 is your champion. They don't necessarily have to win the race. They just have to beat the other 3 guys. So I know there were some big names that got left out, including the fan favorite in Chase Elliott. But from a competition standpoint, and 4 drivers that could make some drama happen on Sunday in this race, is this the best 4 drivers to do that?
From a ratings perspective, yeah, absolutely. And the one I would normally leave out is Joey Logano, but because of the issue that he has with Martin Truex Jr. right now, and the fact that Martin Truex Jr. did end up sneaking into those finals, Logano and Truex could provide drama that we need out of this finale. Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick, they can provide all the drama that anyone will provide without any help. So I love this championship 4. From an emotional standpoint, I would have liked to actually see Chase Elliott or Kurt Busch or Eric Almirola in Logano's spot as the 4th guy. But from a racing side of things, I think Logano is in big trouble here because, yeah, I know I was in favor of what he did to get that race win, but now Truex sneaks in, and I think there is no way that Logano wins this title unless he is just running away with the lead out front. Because if he's in the way of Truex or Kyle Busch or, even to some degree Kevin Harvick, but mainly Truex and Kyle Busch, he will not win the championship. I know that for sure. So the other 3, the big 3, they've been the best cars. They've been the best drivers all season long. I think it's appropriate that those 3 are in battling for a championship this year. And this is a Miami Homestead track that really favors all 4 of these guys in some way or another. We've seen Fords be really good at these intermediate speedway tracks, and so that's going to favor a Logano and a Harvick. But then Toyota, they normally are good everywhere, and when you have sort of the best 2 Toyota drivers in Truex Jr. and Kyle Busch, that's another strong 2. I think it's going to be a great race. Like you said, they don't have to win. So as the old joke says, I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you in the forest. You're going to have that situation going on the whole race. These 4 drivers are likely to battle for the win anyway, because that's just what they've done all year long. But even if they're not winning, it doesn't matter. They're going to battle each other. It's going to be a great race.
I think most fans would think, Chase Elliott not being in, that's who a lot of fans would want to see. But I think from 4 drivers that can really manage this race and make it exciting and create a potential dramatic finish, I think these 4 are the best 4. Now, you could always say Kurt Busch could be in there as well, but I just think you have the past 3 champions, and you have a guy in Logano who this is his 3rd time in the finale. These guys have been there. It's not new to them. The moment's not going to be too big for them. Then you've got a little bit of drama between Logano and Truex Jr. And even though Truex Jr. has kind of come out after that and said he's not going to change the way he drives, I would have to think if Joey's in front of him and they're coming to the white flag or the checker flag, if the 78 can get to the 22, he's going to move him to win a title. So you have that lingering out there.
And if he doesn't, I'll lose respect for him. I will, because
absolutely,
I said I agreed with what Logano did. And so I don't want Truex to go in there and barrel through him and wreck him. But if it's those 2 guys and he's chasing Logano for the title, the heck with clean racing. You get to the left rear quarter panel, you bump him up, you get him loose, and you pass him and you take that title. That's racing. I have no issue with that. And if he doesn't do that, then look, I'm a Truex fan. I like the guy. I think he's a great guy, and I think he deserves to have another chance to win a title, especially with what he's going through at Furniture Row. But if he doesn't do that, I might lose a little respect for his ability on the racetrack.
Absolutely. If Truex Jr. gets a chance to move him, I'm not saying he has to dump him or put him in a wall at 170 miles an hour in the corner, but if he doesn't move him, then yeah, I'm the same way. I would lose all respect for him, and I would say, what your overblown reaction in Martinsville, you just can't do that. You've already seen the way that other drivers, especially a guy like Joey's going to race you. You can race them that way. Eric, the same thing. You look back at Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch. A lot of people aren't talking about this, but remember, Harvick moved Kyle Busch at New Hampshire for a win. And Kyle Busch was not really mad after the race, but he said, I will race him the way he races me. So you already know if it's Harvick and Kyle Busch coming down, that Kyle Busch has no problem moving Kevin Harvick. And we've already seen Harvick has no problem moving Kyle Busch. So there's a lot of drama built up here. And nobody seems to like Joey Logano anyway. So,
Justin, all 3 of these guys are going to move somebody. So, Martin Truex Jr. just has to have a different mindset going into this race, because you're right. Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch have a history, But let's be honest, Kyle Busch will move anybody. He'll move his brother Kurt if it means he wins another title. Kevin Harvick, the same thing. He would probably bump his owner, Tony Stewart, out of the way to win another title. So Logano, Busch, Harvick, they will move any of the other three out of the way. So Truex Jr. has to have that same mindset going into this race.
Now, Eric, one final question, though, I do want to ask you. With what we saw come out after the Texas race on that Wednesday with Kevin Harvick, basically his win being encumbered, not counting toward the playoffs, losing those 40 points, are you concerned at all that what you see Sunday, what happens on Sunday, could possibly change on Wednesday, or do you think NASCAR would not do that in this type of environment?
I've actually thought about this question for the past week because we talked about it on that show. We talked about the scenario of, okay, so you might get a couple of suspensions going into the Daytona 500 and into the 2019 season, but you still walk away with a championship. I'm actually thinking that these teams will operate as much as possible in the gray area because NASCAR won't do this. They won't. They won't change the result on Wednesday. It would just be a complete embarrassment for them. They would have so much egg on their face. They want to have the guy that crosses either the finish line or the guy they're giving the trophy to on Sunday with all the confetti and all the charades and all the interviews that are going to happen on Monday, and they'll probably be on late night TV or whatever. They're not going to change it on Wednesday. I've actually sort of thought about that and thought, you know what? NASCAR just won't do that. So these four teams, they're going to operate as much in the gray area as they possibly can because what we see on Sunday is going to be final.
I agree. I think you will see all four of these guys fast on the speed charts in practice. They'll all qualify well, and they're all going to run up near the front because I think they are going to be, as you said, they are going to all be operating in the gray area. And I think they're going to say, okay, NASCAR, let's see what you got. Are you willing to pull down your champion in the middle of the week following the race, 2 to 3 days after the finale, after they've been doing the media circuit, running up to New York and potentially ESPN and all these different shows? Are you willing to pull them off the stage and say, nope, you're not the champion now 2 to 3 days after? I agree with you. I don't think they will. And I think all these teams are aware of that, and they're going to push the envelope as much as they can come Sunday.
Well, Justin, I got to thank you. This has been a fantastic show. You've put together another winner. I've got to thank all of our listeners, too. We are getting feedback that some of you are going out to iHeartRadio or Stitcher or Apple iTunes, giving us those 5-star bumps. We really appreciate it. Our subscriptions, our downloads, they keep going up every week. Please pass the word on to your friends. Word of mouth is the strongest way to spread a growing podcast, because when you go out to the podcatchers and you look at Stitcher and iHeartRadio and Apple iTunes and you search sports talk radio, you're going to get a lot of the big names, obviously. The Colin Cowherds, the Dan Patricks, the Lebitards, the Jim Romes. You're not going to find Talk Back at the top of that list. But if you like what we are doing as just a couple of hobbyists, a couple of best friends from college, and you like what we're providing, make sure you go out and hit that 5-star button on iHeartRadio or Stitcher or Apple iTunes or wherever you're listening to your podcast. We appreciate it. It helps us move up the list. It helps people find us. And if you enjoy it, make sure you hit us up on Twitter. We love the interaction. We love to talk the world of sports all throughout the week. I usually post a couple of things from my personal account that are just visceral reactions to things I've seen. Justin's a lot more professional. He'll post things from Talkback Fan Talk that are a bit more appropriate than what I might put out there, but I'm kind of more of the gut reaction, passionate guy, and Justin's more of the brains behind the operation. But hey, we appreciate you listening. We'll be back next week with an all-new episode. We hope you have a good one. Thank you for listening to this episode of Talk Back. Staying current on sports is our #1 goal, so we drop a new episode each Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or the podcatcher of your choice. For more info about the show, to meet the hosts, or to partner with us on future episodes, please visit TalkbackFanTalk.com. We really enjoy hearing your take on the world of sports, even when you disagree. After all, this show is dedicated to you, the fans. So get direct access to us on Twitter using @TalkbackJustin and @TalkbackEric. Check out our corporate feed on Twitter and Instagram using the handle @TalkbackFanTalk. We hope you have a great week. We'll talk back at you next time.